Well, hello everyone. It's Mark and Stephen again. We thought we'd share some thoughts with you going into 2016, and hopefully they'll help you and help us.
Yeah, if you didn't have a chance to listen to Sunday's message, we talked about a few things that
Yes.
feel like are on the horizon for 2016. One of the ones that's especially important, I feel like, is to filter out the excess noise and be able to fine tune for you individually what the voice of the Lord is for you as you walk into this year. There's an overall, there's a sense, or sometimes there's a temptation, especially when you're in the prophetic and you're asking the Lord what's coming for the next year. There can be this temptation to make some of the personal revelations that the Lord speaks to you more of a corporate revelation about everybody else.
That's true.
And when you blanket statement some different things, or you say that a particular year is about breakthrough or about acceleration or about favor or just some different topics that we've all, I know that I've done in the past,
Sure.
then what you end up doing is you can over emphasize what a particular group of people is going to experience. So no matter what you talk about for a given year, you can look back and see that certain people really did experience that.
Yeah.
Because it was their time, that was the season that they were in.
Mm-hmm.
But for other people, they may have experienced the exact opposite of what you prophesied that year was supposed to look like.
Right.
Which gives them the opportunity to either feel like they made a mistake and messed up or somehow failed, or the Lord didn't come through for them in the way that they were expecting and experiencing.
Right.
And in reality, we have to be able to release people in the freedom of uniquely walking with the Lord with whatever He has for them that year.
That's right.
And we talked a little bit about on Sunday, the way to do that is to daily ask for the bread for that day. The disciples in Luke 11, they asked the Lord how to pray, and one of the things that He included in that prayer was, give us this day our daily bread.
Mm-hmm.
And so each and every day, every one of us has the opportunity to turn towards the Lord,
That's right.
acknowledge Him, and say, what do you have for me today? Because whatever you're serving me, I want to partake of that and nothing else.
That's right.
And when we look back, we'll see that even if it was a year of hardship, even if it was a year of brokenness, that all of that encompasses breakthrough in your life.
Yeah.
When I look back, I can't value only the fruitful time and call that breakthrough,
Mm-hmm.
when the preparation phase of being plowed under, when the seeds were put in, the struggle that it took for those seeds to even become visible in my life,
Yeah.
all of that is the Lord working on our behalf so that we can see a new level of breakthrough in our life.
Individually.
Individually.
Hearing His voice, as Scripture says, you're my sheep, you hear my voice.
Yeah.
You won't follow the voice of another.
Right.
So, yeah. And I think for me, that's played out, I don't know how many times this year, as the Lord is really wanting me to take personal responsibility for my life and the Lord and still honor all those people around me.
Mm-hmm.
Where I have a door where you can speak into my life, but the ability to know what's, eat the meat, spit out the bones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a story to tell you.
Yeah.
So I'm at the house, and I shared. I shared this Sunday too, and it was the end of my vacation. I was supposed to do some things that I wanted to do in my head in the house, fix it up. Man, I got trees growing in my gutters, and so I don't think I changed the light bulb. So by the end of the vacation, this one week we had shut the office. I'm sitting in the recliner, and I'm feeling pretty bad. I've had a few nice cookies. I call them kryptonite homemade cookies. I'm just in the flesh. I'm sitting in my recliner, and I'm not feeling spiritual at all. And my son comes up to me and says, Dad, will you take me mountain bike riding? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not feeling this at all because I'm fleshy feeling. I'm feeling carnal. And he says, Dad, will you please take me mountain bike? That's twice. Now, the third time he tells me, now I'm just like, son, if you ask again. So I finally get up out of this recliner because I realize at this point, now we're going back to a little bit what you were sharing with, was I'm in the present moment and I'm not feeling anything good right now. And I'm not even caring about my future, and I'm sure not looking at my past. So all around, I'm kind of depressed, just sitting there, mm-hmm. and I just got myself there. And I went upstairs to change and just kind of shake some stuff off, and it was clear to me the word of the Lord came, or the bread. It came and said, go. You need to go. And as soon as I received it, I went, okay. So I went downstairs. I said, son, let's go mountain biking. And I think for him, his eyes got about this big because he was pretty sure I was adamant, we're not going. And I'm so glad I did, because when I did, by receiving that word from the Lord, it was the bread I needed, or the life I needed, because he knew I needed to get oxygen in my lungs. He knew I needed water in my system. He knew I needed to get my heart rate up. He knew I needed to get that funk off me. So when I went out into the crisp, clean air, and I'm biking through the trails, and then the nature that was there. So I told my sons, both of them went, I said, y'all just go ahead and have fun, go for your thrill. Put my earbuds in, listen to the word, and I'm going through beautiful trees. The nature was all around me, the air, and it just started cleaning me out. And again, I started coming alive. I could literally feel myself come alive, and nobody could have done that for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't have got that from a word on the TV. I couldn't have got that from anywhere other than me hearing his voice when I went upstairs. And I received his word, and I walked out, and I received it, took it, and said, okay, this is the Lord. I'm going. As soon as I partnered with the Lord, he did his part.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to happen because of, like I said, some word I just read on the internet. And not saying that doesn't help us, and God will use anything to get through to us. I get that when he wants to. But the question is, do you know it's his voice?
Right.
Do you really know it's his voice that you're hearing and you're activating upon?
Yeah. And so as you are, no matter what your year is shaping up to be, no matter what it is that is in place for 2016, you can trust and be confident that, number one, the Lord is there, and that there's opportunity in it. There's opportunity for growth. There's opportunity to see him manifest in a way that he's never manifested in your life before. There's opportunity to learn things and experience things about the love of the Lord that we could never have gotten in any other year up into this year.
That's right.
And while we're individually in that spot of expectation and anticipation of how the Lord is going to walk with us during this year, there's also a growing appreciation for the diversity of who he's connected us to, the relationships, the friendships that he's brought into our life. And one of the things I did not realize early on, I tended to want to gravitate and walk with the people that were in the same season of life as me. Not realizing that the Lord was trying to put me with people that were different and diverse so that we would be on different growth cycles or growth seasons.
Sure.
I never really understood that before, because when you're in a winter time, when you've been through that pruning, that cutting back in preparation for even more fruitfulness,
Right.
the way that John describes it, that he cuts away dead branches and he prunes us back so that we can be even more fruitful. When you're in that season, the last person that you want to be around is somebody that's in harvest time, that's
Right.
just producing fruit everywhere. Because in your flesh, you want to get mad and go, why are they being so fruitful and I feel completely dead?
Well, let's pause on that for a minute. It's so good that we can examine that for a minute, because there was times in my past that I didn't know the difference between pruning and chastisement. So I would get him confused, thinking, like you're just saying, I would get frustrated thinking, Lord, what am I doing wrong? And I'm thinking he's spanking me. But I realized that in order for you to prune, you have to have fruit first.
Right.
You don't prune a tree till fruit comes first.
Right.
And then after fruit comes, the years come, then you prune it so it bears more fruit.
Right.
So really, you're probably already bearing fruit and don't even know you're bearing fruit.
Yeah.
And he comes along and he starts to clip us so we can bear more fruit. And I got to know the difference between that's the Lord loving me. That's the Lord actually taking time because he wants me to come to the fullness of who he expects me to be, not what man expects me to be. And if we're not careful, sometimes we get those confused.
Yeah. But if you can recognize the connections that he's put in your life, then you won't be so judgmental of yourself or of the people around you. You'll actually appreciate the whole thing, the diversity of the process.
Out of the relationship.
Right, because when I'm in a season where I'm being plowed under or the seeds are there but there's no fruit, I need to be connected to somebody that's being fruitful to sustain me during my season of lack.
That's right.
And at the same time, then I'll have the opportunity to come along, and when the harvest time in my life, when the fruitfulness comes in that season, I'll be able to hand all of the excess fruit off and serve the people that I'm friends with.
That's good.
It's out of that love
That's
for
right.
one another. It said that, you start to see glimpses of what the early church really looked like.
Right.
They were all in different seasons, but every person that had lack, there was somebody there that was fruitful, and out of a love, not out of a compulsion, they wanted to freely give out of their fruitfulness to meet the needs of the people they were connected to.
Right.
And when enough of those people with the same heart and unity came together, it said there was no lack among them.
That's right.
Because every person that had a need, somebody else in that community had the ability or the resource to meet that need. And that's really, I believe, what the Lord is moving us towards, is a place where we're not all sufficient individually.
Yeah.
There's even a sense that the Lord is not going to give you individually everything that you need straight from Him.
Right.
You know, we can go back and prove it time after time
Sure.
through the Scriptures. There's a measure of what He will do with you individually, as the God of heaven supernaturally, but then
Yeah.
there's an element that He will leave for you to have to go and connect to His body here on the earth in order to bring it to completion.
Which is kind of interdependent of one another, not totally dependent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So your year, it depends. It's all available to you, but there is an anticipation, there's an expectation that the Lord is waiting to show Himself strong on your behalf in the unique places that you're going to go. And we just wanted to release you into the freedom to walk with Jesus the way that He fashioned and designed you to walk. Regardless of how the person next to you is walking, how somebody, may have talked about what's coming down the pipe, but continue to seek first His kingdom and His righteousness on a daily basis,
Right.
and all of these other things will be added unto you and put into place. Everything will begin to
Right.
fall into place as you seek first Jesus and His kingdom on a daily basis.
That's good.
And that'll actually deliver us from the fear of having to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Because we won't be worrying about what's going on in
Yeah.
the future, or even worried about what happened in the past. We will be, like you said, we will be content and thankful that we're present and that He's with us, and
That's
then we
right.
have an opportunity to be together.
And it feels very freeing to not have expectations that we've actually created within ourselves, or maybe other people's expectations drive us. It's freeing to know that I can hear His voice, and I have an individual story that is very important to the Lord, that He does not discount.
Right.
He takes all of that and He says, I love your life. I love everything about you, and everything you've walked through, I've been there with you,
Yeah.
whether you knew it or not. So don't discount your story.
Yeah.
And know that He's using where you are today. Everything that you are today is a product of everywhere you've been, everything you've walked through. It challenged you to know what gift was in you.
Yeah.
Our story has given us the authority that we're walking in. Our story is giving us the ability to know what giftings are within us.
Yeah.
And so everyone has a unique story, and I think we can't discount that, is what you're truly saying to my heart right now, that it's a beautiful story and it continues. It's a saga that doesn't end.
Yeah.
And if we can embrace that, then we can actually embrace each other. It's when we want someone else's story to be our story when it gets confusing.
Yeah. So this year, He's for you, He's with you, He's excited about you, He just wants to walk with you. And it's time for us to filter out the noise, all of the excess noise and the chaos, and get tuned into His voice, the voice of truth, and what He's saying to us on an individual level, so that if enough of us individually walk in obedience to what He's calling us to do, we'll start to see a more complete revelation of what He really looks like here on the earth.
Well, Happy New Year. Today is January the...
Something.
And we're here today to hang out with you guys and just share our thoughts going into 2016.
Yep. Welcome to 2016. It's going to happen no matter what.
You are a prophet.
Yeah. I prophesy that 2016 is here and that it's here to stay.
You can bank on that.
Yep. Waiting for the beep.
The beep is come and gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's try it again.
Let's try the beep again.
The mouse is locked up.
Bring it over here. There you go.
Let's do... Oh, there it is. Welcome.
Oh, gosh, no. That's not